Okay, so let's get into it. We are going into a future that's a topic that's close to my heart, which is the future of development. And I really like the title of our next guest. So Chris Hovde is the Global People Movement Lead. And I like that because that's suggesting that it's not just about development, it's not just about talent, it's about actually moving around, building experiences, building your career. So he's meant to be a fantastic guy, and he calls himself an urban monk. So I think we're in for a pretty amazing presentation. Chris, lovely to meet you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Natal. It's a big pleasure to be with you all today. I look forward to take you on a journey about how the future of development look in Telia. But then, of course, we also need to start with the history and the present moment before we can talk about the future. So I will take you through a bit of our present moment and the past that we've been through and the transformation journey we are on when it comes to development. Because 5.5 years ago, I started in Telia, and to look back on those 5-6 years is almost to look back on the journey where I found myself. And I will also go into that when we come into our learning offerings, because what I think makes us stand out is that we equally focus on personal development as business critical skills and helping people to find themselves, finding their purpose in life, finding their values, and become strong self-leaders in their own life. And on top of that, of course, addressing business critical skills. But where did our journey start? Basically, our journey started 169 years ago, and we're still in transformation and still counting years. So at least for me, sometimes it helps to look back, to look at the future in a brighter way. If we have done 169 years of reinventing and transformation, we will probably still be able to do one more year, and that brings a lot of positivity to the journey we have ahead. In Telia, we say that we want to reinvent better connected living. That's our purpose. And that's also, of course, something we then need to connect all our learning and development offerings to in order to deliver on that. So to us, it's always important, no matter which topic we talk about, we always connect it to the big picture. And as I already addressed, we've been an organization geared for the industrial age, but now moving over to a purpose and value-driven company. As we know that research supports that companies who have a strong culture actually 3.6 times more likely to out-succeed those companies with less of a strong culture. And our values are dare, care, and simplify. And in this, you can see a lot of our learnings and development offerings are really simple. We care for our people 24/7. So we build strong, confident self-leaders in everything we do, but we also dare to do pilots and dare to do different and maybe challenge the established. Even though that maybe hurts sometimes and maybe not everybody gets happy with things who are challenged. And I will come back to some concrete examples on that. Just to connect to the rest of the big picture before we kind of dig deep into our learning philosophy and the concrete examples. Basically for us, dare is about to innovate, lead, and speak up. We talk loudly about things, we dare to move in front of the industry, and we dare to innovate and try new things. Then caring is about our customers, our people, and our society. So a lot of our training and development offerings, we also offer to externals, NGOs, and so on, to really make an impact in the societies we're operating in. And then, of course, we need to make learning simple for everyone. So simplify how we do it, simplify how teams learn together, so we can all create business impact. Last but not least, our last cultural element that I just want to introduce to you so you get the backdrop of the future of learning in Telia is basically our 4 E's. We have the 4 E's is our leadership expectations and how we expect all our leaders, 2,500 in 7 countries, to make sure that they engage our people to inspire impact and they enable them to develop both as individuals and as teams. But then also that takes our leaders to develop first. And that's actually where we maybe, as leaders in this room, need to take on that question. Do I develop myself when I expect my people to develop? And the answer to that question, when we ask many of our leaders, no, they don't, because they focus just on their people to develop. But it's so important in development as a message for us to say that put on your own oxygen mask before you help people, otherwise you're not credible. So that's also kind of transformation we are in, to make all our leaders also to take the development opportunities we have so they can be great ambassadors. On the last note, before we jump into our strategy and how we think about development, is basically also something that makes our development offerings tailored and unique and individualized, because we're all different human beings. And in Telia, we have a diversity and inclusion ambition for the majority. That means 20,000 people that they can come and bring their whole self, a most brilliant and authentic self, to work every single day. And we provide equal opportunity. That doesn't mean that everybody needs the same learning track or development track or offerings. Everyone have specific needs, and that's of course where technology, different solutions, and trying to innovate our learning offerings comes into place. And why are we doing that? Learning is fun, development is cool, everybody likes it, but does it give a return on investment? That's probably where we all kind of scratches our heads and like, how can we measure and how can we actually bring a value to the business? And that's why we always also connect it to our strategy. So this is basically our one-pager strategy. And as the 4 pillars in the fundament, we've said one of them will be that we have the most engaged employees. And of course, we know that learning development is a part of motivation, mastery, and that if people are motivated, they will become more engaged, and they will probably also hopefully deliver better and more efficient and better together in high-performing teams. So that's a part of our strategy and all our offerings, as you will see in the library going forward. And then, what do we believe in when it comes to learning and development? Basically, these are our core beliefs. I will not jump really detailed into all of them, but as you can see, the 3 big cornerstones here is that we want to develop a learning culture to continue develop every single day. So we have everything from big trainings, longer courses stretching over a period of time, but all of them have in common that they focus on behavioral change. Then we, of course, have leadership offerings, but in Telia, we say that leadership is for all. So leadership is just about influencing people around you in a positive way and bring out the best potential in everyone. And then eventually we have employeeship, or what we call self-leadership. How can we grow people's self-confidence, self-awareness, self-reliance, and self-esteem, so they become confident self-leaders in their own life? And that's also where we have a wide range of programs. As I started this session with, I came to Telia and I found myself, and that's what we want to bring to all of our people as well. Then you can also see another core belief here. It's basically about psychological safety. We'll talk a bit more about that coming forward. People positivity. We believe everyone can learn and grow. We have the neuro perspective on change, because change is, as you saw, something we've done for 169 years. And we're going to probably do at least 169 more. So we need to equip our people to do that. Then last but not least, we focus too much usually on individuals when we do development and trainings. So what we have also done is a training program for high-performing teams based on Susan Whelan's research, where we take them from being a group to becoming a high-performing team in an 8 to 12 months journey. And there we have actually measured the success. So in average, all of our 500 teams now has had an improvement of 16% on their team quality when they've been through that journey. So also starting to measure and actually promise outcome to our business has made this really come on track and really being sought after in the business. So tracking before, tracking midway, and tracking afterwards have given us really some proof points of the benefits and the return on investment of the team training as an example. But then coming to our learning mindset, we believe basically that, of course, if the individuals grows, we will grow as a company. And learning is so many things, and it doesn't matter always how you learn or what you learn, as long as you learn. That's also part of your development. And we believe that everybody can learn. Even leadership is something that everybody can learn. And learning is mostly about doing. So that's also kind of a punch in the stomach, maybe, coming from HR and coming from learning and development. Sometimes we believe that we are the oracle that will solve everything. But basically, we say that in Telia, training is 10%, 70% is actually doing it and applying it on your job, and 20% is coaching and feedback with your leader and peer. Then it's basically about finding where we can meet our people and what they want and what we know about engagement, and then also what the world needs. And we have done an extensive mapping of the competences we have today and the competences we need for the future, basically a long time in the future. And I will show you that analysis now in the coming slides. But why is there an importance of a learning strategy and maybe even thinking differently when it comes to learning going forward? Because we basically now, in this time we've had learning paths that's been similar for all, but and then learning has been something on the side you have done when you had time for it. And then we all know, at least for many companies, it's relevant that we have redundancies maybe once per quarter, maybe once per half year, and it's not a sustainable way of driving our people as a workforce going forward. So we need to learn from the past so we can be better in the future. So looking into both AI, automation, and digital solutions, of course, but then also being focused on 50-50 on the skill focus and the personal development, as mentioned many times. And then more and more being out there with the business and with the people in the business as a strategic partner to reskill, upskill. So maybe in the future, and we're actually having a project on that, how can we in the future never have a redundancy again or a shift of resources, but basically always make sure we're one step ahead so everybody can stay with Telia forever, and you have the opportunity to move around in the organization and have great internal mobility. So our people are actually lacking a clear path to growth, and that's something that we hear a lot. So how can we make that possible? Not saying that we're there today, but we're taking some steps and we're piloting and we're trying a lot of things out, and more will come. Actually, just a couple of weeks ago, one of the examples that's really both big and at scale, it came as a press release that I will share with you. So taking one step at a time here. But then being good at what we do is important to everyone. As mentioned, motivation, engagement, and mastery is basically the core of having the most engaged employees, as we have in our strategy. And then it's really key to a Telia employee experience, the learning and development experience. And what we compare to is usually what we would buy privately. And of course, you see that learning from LinkedIn, learning from Pluralsight and other things, or maybe even YouTube or Instagram that you use on your private site. Actually, our learning and development offerings compete with those when it comes to UX experience. And as we all know, that can be a bit difficult gap to bridge sometimes. So how do we do that? We need to drive a shift in both mindsets and methods. So we need to, of course, today people don't maybe see learning time as valuable. It's too much going on. There is so much transformation. And how would I ever be able to have time to learn? So what we have done with many of our learnings there, as I will show you in the concrete examples, is really taking them down to bit size that people can chew off. We have taken it into a blended way of learning. So you both learn with your team on your job, so it doesn't become another add-on. And then you have a peer group with other colleagues that you also go back and learn maybe 30 minutes. And that kind of correlates with meetings that you used to have many of every single day. So how can you infiltrate their everyday life with learning and development without becoming another hurdle or obstacle on top? And then, of course, it's all about personalization. One thing I like to say is if it's sexy enough, people will run to the door and stand in a line. And if it isn't sexy enough, we haven't done a good enough job. And we saw that with our newest leadership offering, which we call Essentials of Leadership. That's basically, I put up a new offering 3 weeks ago. And just within 2 hours, I needed to increase the number of participants spots available with 200%. And just in 20 more minutes, those were also full, and we needed to set up another training. And that's where I think we as HR, we as development and talent departments has come onto something. And we need to hunt that sexiness. So people run down the doors because it's relevant, because it's fun, and because they actually change behavior and see the results. That said, we're all basically probably, on a journey from moving from a train station where we focus on, okay, we have 20 attendants, we take the uptake and then we're done. But now focusing more towards a GPS. How can we actually personalize your learning and development experience from actually the pre-boarding phase, where we already release a lot of trainings, and which trainings do you want on that stage according to where you work maybe, and even personalized down to team and so on. That's something and a road we need to go up. And then, of course, people tend to want to learn in a variety of ways. We don't only have classrooms, but as I said, micro-learnings, blended learnings, podcasts, videos, and all of the things you probably know about, and even a gamified app where you can create your own avatars and see your team and jump back and forth and have some treasure hunts and owl and even into the more gamification part to try out, test what do people think is sexy enough, and then go for which one offering that is highly in demand. But in the bottom of this, it's really important to build a learning and performance culture. And just to mention the upper right quartile here, it's basically about learning and performance and how can we create a learning culture so we drive performance. And what we usually miss in today's workplaces is that we push a lot for accountability, but as leaders, we don't have time equally to support. So I like to call the model push and support. If you want people to actually become accountable and develop, you also need to actually take that time as a leader or development department and so on to support equally. Otherwise, you actually need to adjust your push and take because you can't deliver on the support. So that's an important thing. And it's so, of course, from Amy Edmondson and psychological safety to learn, fail, train, pilot, trial and error. And that's how we kind of also set up all our offerings. That said, we also have, as I already mentioned, the learning model, which is basically we emphasize mostly on the job development. So in all trainings I facilitate, I say that I just gave you 10%. You will need to discuss and reflect with others, and then you add 20% more. But other than that, you actually have a huge load of work to do now, going back to your work, going back to your team, applying the things on the job, and actually develop and change your behavior. And that takes time, and that takes those 10,000 hours. So what we try to do then is to find the sweet spot or sweet spot, if you like, between the personal needs, goals, aspirations, and then the business opportunities and needs. And what we say in Telia, we don't have open positions to fill, we have opportunities to create. So also kind of setting the structure of the organization. Do you have really fixed squares that you need to fit into? Like I just call myself Global People Moment Lead because I do so much different things that has to do with engagement and moving people and getting them out there and facilitating and so on. So what is that called? Okay, together with my leader, I decided it's a Global People Movement. And then how do you create your people's opportunities or sweet spot around them in instead of trying to fit them into a square. So the most important tool we have for our people to really develop every day is what we call the You First. That's basically built on our frequent check-ins with our leaders that everybody are recommended to have at least every second week or a minimum once a month, where you discuss your individual goals, your development plans, you get feedback, you get that 20% of development with your leader, and then you have a concrete plan to go back to action, do some more development, apply it on the job so you actually get those 70% in, and then you come back and reiterate. And here also the manager and the employee together suggest maybe the new training to add a little 10% spice on top. Then I want to come a bit more into the skills that I talked about and the mapping we have done for the future, because here I'm talking a lot about personal growth, personal development, but also we have a lot of business critical skills for the future that we need to actually cater for. And we did a big mapping across all our 7 countries. All across our 7 countries, then input from all the markets and all the important stakeholders from all countries. And then we outlined then 4 different key areas that basically are critical competences for us in the future. And then we actually launched those 4 competences as advanced and blended learnings online. So as you can see here, it's big data and advanced analytics connected to the strategy, as you can see here. And then it's digitalization online and digital customer experience and service design. And then it's a project, a program, process management and agile ways of working. And the last one became AI automation and robotics, because technology is in our core. And then I have a really exciting example to share with you in just a couple of slides with one of the more, but I will keep that a secret for now. Then, as more of the soft skills parts, we have then divided, as you can see, we have the future proof in the end here. That's the key critical competences I just showed you that we will educate and develop our people within so we can deliver on our strategy in the future. But then we have the soft parts of it as well. iLead is basically our leadership offerings, where we tailor our leadership offerings towards our leadership expectations. So our people can both map themselves, how am I doing according to my leadership expectations, and which trainings can I then take. For example, under our leadership offering, number 1, envision a better future, curiosity is a behavior. And then you can press curiosity, and if you think that you are not that good at being curious, you can go in and get specific learnings in becoming more curious. And under all of the sub-behaviors, 12 of them in the leadership framework, you can go in and develop and train yourself. Then we have iGrow. That's basically our self-leadership offerings, where you can get to know your own purpose, your own values, and all of the things that's important for you to become a great self-leader. That's meaning self-awareness, self-confidence, self-reliance, and self-esteem. So a lot of programs there to build exactly that. I already mentioned the team journey. So basically where we take our teams to become high-performing teams on an 8 to 12 month journey, then facilitated either by a gamified app or then by a more experienced facilitator from the business. That said, I just also wanted to show you our reinvented hybrid leadership development, because once we entered Corona, we saw that we can't electrify paper. We need to rebuild everything from the bottom up to be tailored to virtual. So this program will never be able to be actually facilitated physically because it's unique to a hybrid environment, and then everything is delivered virtually. But as I said, building on the blended ways of learning, you always need to do a pre-work. You have short bit-sized workshops. You have then some homework to do and to apply and do with your team. And then you discuss with your peer groups to still get those 20%. And this is the training with this agenda, which actually has people running down the doors. So we can't actually deliver enough trainings, even though we're so many experienced facilitators in the community, and that's really beautiful. I think that's where we feel and see that we're really on track when the business start to run down our doors. Then another example I actually want to take to get more concrete is that usually it takes 5 to 6 years to educate the engineer. Today, we then experimented with academic work, and within 12 weeks, we hired both a pilot, a nurse, and no matter what background, you were eligible to apply. And then within 12 weeks intensive course, we actually educated 12 junior data engineers that got a permanent position at Telia as a junior data engineer. So of course you don't learn the same as 5 to 6 years education, but you learned exactly what you needed in order to fill that position at our place. And we all know that there's scarce resources or pipelines when it comes to tech competence. So we need to actually be creative. We can't just go and create awareness and do employer branding workshops out there. We actually need to speed up the pipeline. Last but not least, I wanted to show you the latest example and member of the family. Just I think it was 1 week ago, we actually launched as a press release that we in Telia company, we will do 10% of our people will be upskilled in ABS and cloud technologies. And we're also then looking into and have running programs with Pluralsight, LinkedIn Learning, as I started with, to mirror the way we learn at home and to make it then available on the go and on the job, or if you're on the toilet and you have a couple of more minutes, you can always learn there as well, no matter where you are. So ending on the toilet, that's all for me. And then hopefully you have some questions also about some of the things I said, both our strong culture, that's an important fundament. Then of course our learning philosophy and how we want to learn. And then eventually the concrete milestones and proof points that we actually deliver something that's sexy enough so people will run down our doors. That's all for me. And then welcome to Telia. If you want to learn a lot, develop a lot, and become a strong, confident human being, we are the home to your next big opportunity.
Excellent. And love the messages of the toilet meets the sexiness of learning. So that's fantastic, Chris. We've had a couple of questions come in from the audience. So let's sneak one in before we go to our next speaker. So Alina has asked, how does Telia combine the individual approach in learning versus what you were talking about with the harmonization, the systematic approach that you take? And also I was interested because there was a lot of emphasis on team working and psychological safety just as much as individuals. So just tell us a little bit about that. That would be fab.
Yes, so I think it's sometimes to kind of pilot, try and error, and we're kind of in technology space where you actually do that a lot. So in some of our countries, we, for example, saw, okay, one competence that we really need is change, how to deal with change, so neuro perspective on change. So actually in Norway, that's one of the reasons we won the Competence Company of the Year award in Norway, because we actually dared to take a bet where we said that all of our 100% employees, 2,400 of them in Norway, need to go through like how to deal with change on the basis of how your brain works. And we really pushed then all of our people through. But that's basically more on the soft skill side, where you can actually see that something is beneficial for all. I would probably not do the same thing with cloud and push 2,000 people to 20,000 people through that, but more the ones who are relevant. But becoming strong, confident human beings is where we have actually taken some collective bets and got everybody through. The same thing with the purpose and values workshops that we have, where we help people to find their own individual purpose in life before you take on the companies, because research supports that you need to help your people first to put their oxygen mask. Otherwise, it's not actually correlated with the engagement. And that's where I came from IKEA previously. I never hear about my own personal values and value set. I only heard about the company. So that's also where I think we have a different twist, and we put our people first, then the company's value set and culture second, because that will also eventually make the culture in the company stronger.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's that kind of blending of personalization meets, feeling like you belong and you're with a bigger community, but also there's your individual element in which you kind of contribute. So I really like that. And I do think we've perhaps focused too much on just individual development alone in the past, or just the company values. And so I really like that kind of blend of the two. So that's really great. Excellent. Thank you so much, Chris. And we look forward to more of your urban monking in future conferences.
Thank you. I'll see you later on.
Okay, thank you. Excellent.